decentraLIVE.
Welcome back to decentraLIVE, where we keep you up to date with the latest developments in crypto and blockchain. As always, I'm Tracy Traxler. Now, as you can see, Owen is still on vacation, but that won't stop us from providing you guys with some fresh content. Today, we'll be checking in on Craig Wright's libel lawsuit against Roger Ver, examining the relationship between Bitcoin and money laundering, discussing the NBA's collaboration with blockchain game developer Dapper Labs, and more. So let's get started. Now, first up, it's time to catch up with Craig Wright and his bitter feud with Roger Ver. It's no secret that Wright and Ver have had their fair share of differences for a while now, but things got particularly heated this past spring when Wright filed a £100,000 libel suit against Ver over a YouTube video. In the video, which was published sometime in mid-April, Ver denounced Wright's controversial claim that he is the anonymous Bitcoin creator Satoshi Nakamoto, calling him a, quote, fraud. Now, a UK resident since 2015, Wright decided to file his lawsuit with the UK's High Court of Justice, claiming that the video had harmed his reputation in England. The court, it turns out, disagrees. New court documents reveal that presiding judge, the Honorable Mr. Justice Nicklin, has dismissed the case after finding that Wright had failed to provide any objective evidence that his reputation had been harmed in England and Wales. Nicklin's ruling went so far as to state that, quote, Wright's evidence was weak, lacked detail, and was of a level of generality that is almost entirely speculative. So that's it, right? Time to move on? Not quite. The day after the July 29th hearing, Wright took to his blog to share some interesting thoughts. Now, the post is fairly long, but here's the Reader's Digest version. Wright claims that he has unduly been painted as a fraud and criminal by individuals who oppose his ideals. What are those ideals? Well, according to Wright, they, quote, involve delivering an immutable evidence chain that will record transactions and make fraud difficult. On the other hand, we have people who promote anarchy and crime. Who are these people that Wright talks about? Well, not to worry, Wright famously does not shy away from naming names, and this post is no exception. So, let's take a look at who made it into Craig Wright's burn book. First up, Bitcoin core developer Greg Maxwell. Now, Wright claims that Maxwell was involved in Operation Anti-Sec and assisted in the theft of copyrighted documents as well as record tampering. Next, well, surprise, surprise, it's Roger Ver, who Wright claims in the post is seeking to create dark web markets and who is actively promoting systems that will allow anarchy, drug markets, assassination markets, and just crime generally. Now, Ver is followed by Vitalik Buterin, who Wright says is behind the creation of, quote, the biggest Ponzi market scheme of the decade. And last but not least, Binance CEO Changpeng Zhao, more famously known as just CZ, who, according to Wright, is running one of the biggest money laundering operations in the public world. All in all, safe to say, those are some less than glowing reviews. Now, what is still unclear, however, is how this court ruling will affect some of Wright's other lawsuits. In addition to his suits against Roger Ver, Hodlonaut, and Peter McCormick, Wright has also famously maintained some serious beef with crypto renegade John McAfee. Mandatory shout out to Owen here, because I know you love the man. So, that's it. It'll be interesting to see what happens next. All right, moving on. The blockchain analytics firm Elliptic recently partnered with researchers at the MIT IBM Watson AI lab in order to examine the relationship between Bitcoin and illicit activity. The resulting study specifically sought to probe the merits of graph convolutional networks for financial forensics as part of a larger effort to refine data extraction and analysis methods. Now, the teams examined over 200,000 transactions and tracked 166 different features, including local information such as output volume, time steps, and transaction fees, as well as aggregate figures that were obtained using transaction information one hop backward and forward from the center node. What did they find? Only 2% of the transactions were found to be illicit. Sounds great, right? Well, before you bring out your confetti cannons, let's take a closer look at that data, because because, as every good statistics professor will tell you, one should always be wary of pie charts. So while 2% of the transactions were found to be illicit and 21% were found to be lawful, a whopping 77% of transactions were unclassified. To put that into perspective, take a look at the lower of the two graphs that we'll display now, which displays the number of nodes that are unknown, licit, and illicit. Not looking as great now, is it? Well, the study also does not issue any information regarding the overall volume of transactions that fall into each of the three categories. Now, the top graph looks at the fraction of illicit versus licit nodes, with an average that hovers between 0.2 and 0.4. So what does this mean in the end? Well, according to the researchers, although the use of graph convolutional networks may help enhance financial forensics capabilities, additional research is required in order to fine-tune their methods so as to reduce the margin of unclassified transactions. All right, well, switching gears from math and science to sports. The National Basketball Association, or NBA, has officially teamed up with Dapper Labs, the minds behind CryptoKitties, to launch a digital platform for blockchain-based collectibles. Dubbed NBA Top Shot, NBA fans will be able to buy, sell, and trade digitally collectible in-season moves like Kevin Durant's three-point show or Joel Embiid's dunk. Well, that may then in turn be used for on-chain games or tournaments. Users will also be able to acquire players and build rosters with the added capability of purchasing moves from previous seasons if they choose to do so. Now, the National Basketball Players Association, or NBPA, has also partnered up with the project. When asked about Top Shop, NBPA commercial executive Josh Goodstad stated that the collaboration with Dapper Labs was set to give birth to, quote, an entirely new way for fans to connect with their favorite athletes. The NBA is set to launch its Top Shop collectibles this fall in time for the regular season tip-off, with the full version of the game going live in early 2020. Those interested in securing early access to the game, however, already have the opportunity to register online at the NBA Top Shot website. All right, last but not least, let's talk about Walmart. The U.S. retail giant recently applied for a cryptocurrency patent with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. Now, upon closer examination, Walmart's patent seems to bear a distant resemblance, let's say, to Facebook's Libra token. In the application, the company floats the concept of introducing its own digital currency that is, quote, tied to a regular currency. In other words, they're looking to create a stablecoin. Ring any bells? Now, even more familiar is the fact that the filing suggests that the proposed token could cater to individuals with limited access to banking services, i.e. low-income households for whom credit and access to cash can be problematic. The filing specifically states that, quote, keeping and accessing cash can be expensive for low-income households simply because those customers may live week to week and may have little cash in their bank accounts. If they have bank accounts, the cost of having little money is high because of frequent short-term borrowing, accumulated interest on short-term borrowing that becomes long-term, high bank fees proportional to wealth, high credit card fees, and high payday loan interests, all of which can take money away that could be available and would be used to buy necessities. This is, of course, one of the major claims that Facebook has made with regards to Libra. Further, Facebook plans to integrate Libra within its own social media platforms as a means of payment, with the hope of rolling it out to other use cases, such as remittances, over time. Walmart's filings, meanwhile, indicate that they're also hoping to achieve wider integration of their currency, with a US-pegged version of the token destined for use among selected retailers and partners. The underlying blockchain would be able to store information regarding a user's purchasing history and apply related savings to their subsequent purchases, essentially similar to loyalty points. Overall, the filing is very broad and also includes the ability to remove the need for credit cards by acting as a pre-approved biometric credit, as well as the ability to restrict what products and what product categories can be bought and by whom. So, for example, blocking minors from purchasing alcohol or R-rated DVDs. bad news for teenage hooligans everywhere, I'm sure. All right, of course, Walmart is no newcomer to the blockchain space, as they're already actively working to integrate DLT into their supply chain management to improve food safety, deliver services, etc. However, as we've seen with Libra, a project such as this could send some serious shockwaves throughout the industry, and it'll be interesting to see how Walmart fares in the development of its own token. Well, that's it for today. Thanks so much for joining us. Make sure to tune in once we're back and once Owen is back. We'll be off next week due to a holiday, but in the meantime, please do make sure to stay up to date with all of our behind the scenes stuff on our social media accounts. So catch us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You know where to go. All right. Thanks so much for joining. See you next time.